Hey, what's going on, guys? It's the Short Sports Show. I'm your host, Daniel Short. Today is Monday, June 2nd, 2014, and this is our 60th episode. 60th. It's incredible. It's incredible how far we have come. I just want to first thank everybody. I have seen that the show is drastically improving by number of listeners and the amount of followers on Twitter, Facebook, and all that good stuff. It's amazing. I just want to say thank you guys. It means a whole lot, having to do this and start growing, literally starting from the bottom and moving my way up. Thank you guys so much. We are progressing each and every episode, and it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm glad I'm able to do this. I'm glad you guys love the show. It's awesome. So today's episode, we're going to talk about the NBA Finals preview. Both, got to preview it. We got to talk about it. It's the Spurs, the Heat, rematch dose 2. What else name can we call it? Can King James get his third straight NBA championship? Or will the big three of Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker get the job done this time? They had a close scare against the Thunder. We'll talk about that later in this episode. Also, is Brian Urlacher the missing piece for the Dallas Cowboys defense? They need a lot of help, and apparently he might be that missing piece. Also, the OTAs continue this week for the NFL. A lot of teams are starting them, and hopefully none of them lose any big stars, kind of like the Cowboys did with Sean Lee. Sorry to bring that up, guys. Anyways, we'll talk about some college football news first. As the nation's top-ranked high school quarterback and number 14 overall recruit, Kyler Murray has committed to Texas A&M from Allen High School in Allen, Texas. First, let me just put a little side note into that. Has anybody heard about what happened to their $60 million stadium? Yes, a high school, Allen, Texas, Allen High School. They had a $60 million stadium that's worth absolutely nothing now, as the stadium has, I believe the concrete is all messed up, and they have other issues with the ground, so that they won't play on it this season, and who knows when they can actually get it done, if it's even going to be up by then, for next season, the 2015 year. No idea, but anyways, that's just a little side note. But anyways, Kyler Murray, 5'11", 170, about the same size as Johnny Manziel. Not trying to compare him, but I'm just saying. And he's legit. He's got some really good skills. He will be obviously a senior this season, and play at Texas A&M in 2015. But a really good pickup for Texas A&M, and they keep getting recruits. It's amazing, and it sucks because as a TCU fan, A&M's just pulling everybody. They got Myles Garrett, top defensive end last recruiting, and he was gonna hopefully go to TCU, and then of course A&M pulled him away. A&M, I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing something good, and it's all because of Manziel. But anyways, former Kansas State quarterback / wide receiver Daniel Sams is transferring to McNeese State. Finally made his decision. Sams spent much of last season splitting snaps at quarterback with Jake Waters, and he led the Big 12 quarterbacks with 807 yards rushing, but lost the share of snaps with Waters late in the season, and obviously later benched. He played a little bit at wide receiver last season, and then finally Sams requested a position change to wide receiver during the offseason, but was on the third team on the depth chart at the end of spring, and finally said, hey, I want to play quarterback. I want to get closer to home in Louisiana. Let me go to McNeese State. You will be eligible to play this season, and see what goes for there. McNeese State really didn't look at the roster, seeing what their needs are at quarterback or wide receiver. But I remember talking about him saying that he was wanting to transfer from K-State. And so I'm, assuming that he's going to be wanting to play quarterback, and look like McNeese State will do that. Oklahoma State freshman running back Devin Thomas was arrested late Wednesday on felony complaints of armed robbery and shooting with intent to kill. Thomas, just 18 years old, and 3 others are accused of robbing a man at gunpoint Tuesday afternoon and then firing a gun at the victim as the victim drove away. Thomas was the first player to commit to Oklahoma State's 2014 recruiting class, and obviously that has now gone down the drain. He did practice with the Cowboys during spring and looked like he was going to be a pretty solid contributor to the team, but not anymore. Not anymore. It's a lot of crazy news happening, mainly in the NFL about police stuff happening. You know, we'll talk about that as well, but crazy people out there now. The American Athletic Conference, the AAC, finalized the league's 2-6 how am I supposed to say, divisions. The two divisions began in 2015 when Navy joins the league as a football-only member. It will be like this. The West Division will be Navy, Houston, Memphis, SMU, Tulane, and Tulsa, while the East Division will hold Cincinnati, UConn, UCF, East Carolina, South Florida, and Temple. You know, people are saying that Navy should have been in the East, but they didn't really have that many teams in the West, so they just moved them over there. I think it looks a nice little fit. I mean, you got Houston and SMU in the Texas region, Memphis, Tulane, Tulsa. You know, those are pretty solid regions, areas for the AAC. And then Cincinnati, UConn, UCF, East Carolina, South Florida, Temple. It's going to be a competitive, you know, league right there. Not that any of these teams are going to be in the, you know, the top four for the playoffs when that comes late in the season, but it'll be a competitive league. It'll be nice, you know, I guess like, you know, your secondary leagues. You got a Power 5 conference. This will be one of the top secondary leagues for college football next season. Former Washington Huskies receiver Demaria Stringfellow says he is transferring to Nebraska. Stringfellow and UW quarterback Silas Miles were involved in an altercation in Seattle after the Super Bowl with two Seahawks fans. And because of that, both players were suspended by Washington coach Chris Peterson. Stringfellow pleaded guilty in April to 3 misdemeanors and was sentenced in a plea agreement to 5 days on a work crew, and then later fined $693 in order to attend anger management counseling. While Miles, who was not charged in the incident, was reinstated by Peterson last month, but Stringfellow was forced, you know, basically, you got to leave, you're not going to play. And because of the NCAA transfer rules, they require Stringfellow to sit out this season at Nebraska, but he would be a third-year sophomore in 2015, so that gives him, even though he's sitting out this year, he will have 3 years of eligibility at Nebraska starting in 2015 with the team. And, you know, I guess it'd be a, you know, good fit for him, Nebraska. They're producing good wide receivers. Who's in the draft? His name was kind of hard to pronounce. Iwanawa, something like that. He was really good last season for Nebraska and was drafted about third or fourth round, I believe. Anyways, he could take his spot come 2015. Former UCLA linebacker Aaron Porter is transferring to Washington State, as Porter did not play last season and moved to fullback. Decided to transfer, go to Washington State, and played linebacker. And last news for college football is former UNLV offensive tackle Cameron Jefferson has decided to transfer to Arkansas. Jefferson will be eligible to play immediately in 2014 as a senior. He was granted, you know, the transfer from UNLV, so that set him, you know, that means he was eligible either way to play, no matter what, no matter what grade or, you know, sophomore, junior, whatever. Didn't matter. And also because of the APR rules and the postseason ban on UNLV, he was cleared again, even if he was a freshman, sophomore, or junior, he would be cleared to transfer and play immediately, no matter what school he went to. So good for him. Apparently he's a really top, player for UNLV, or, you know, obviously was top offensive lineman, could be, you know, a first, second round draft pick, in 2014 to 2015 NFL draft. So good pickup for Arkansas right there, and huge loss for UNLV. And now we're moving on to the NFL. First, we'll talk about a few things that already happened late last week that we didn't get to talk about. Or it wasn't like late, it was middle of last week, and it was after the show So talk about a few things. So it might seem a little bit old, but coming right with some new news, I guess you could say. The New Orleans Saints safety Jarius Byrd underwent back surgery Thursday. The team is hoping to have him back at full speed in time for training camp. Saints head coach Sean Payton said Byrd will probably miss all of OTAs and minicamp over the next month, but should be good to go come training camp. And they're going to need him as he is their big star they picked up, other than, I guess, Champ Bailey, in free agency, and needing him to go real quick because Saints defense, he's going to be that key factor. He's going to be the leader of the defense. Now with Jonathan Vilma gone, he's going to be the guy to be the vocal leader of the team, and they're going to need him as quick as possible, but obviously 100%. New York Giants safety Will Hill has been suspended for the first 6 games of the season after violating the NFL's substance abuse policy. Hill can participate in OTAs, training camp, and preseason games, but won't be eligible for the active roster until October 13th, right after they play the Philadelphia Eagles. In 2012, the NFL suspended him for using performance-enhancing drug that was Adderall, and then last season, he was suspended 4 games for violating the substance abuse policy, which was later he said that it was due to marijuana use. And now this again. Usually it's 3 strikes and you're out. And this is where I have a problem. Will Hill and the Giants, Will Hill, I'm not a big fan of you. You know, I barely heard of you other than last year and this year. Giants, you're okay, I guess. My thing is, this is his 3rd time being suspended and having some type of problem. Now, and I might be a little bit biased here, but I'm just saying, Arizona Cardinals linebacker Darrell Washington was suspended now for the entire 2014 season after his 2nd run around with marijuana and the performance enhancing or substance abuse policy thing. Last season, he was suspended for 4 games, the first 4 games, and now, because he did it again, he failed some tests, boom, suspended the entire year. But Will Hill over here has done Adderall, and twice now for marijuana, and you're only suspending him now just 6 games. I don't like that. Darrell Washington is from TCU, so that's probably why I don't really, not a big fan of it. But man, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. You get this guy, Will Hill's only gonna miss 6 games of the season, while Darrell Washington is without pay the entire season. Hasn't even got the 10 million, half of the 10 million he was supposed to receive from the Cardinals yet, and now the Cardinals might have found, a loophole in not paying him at all. The option bonus, because, you know, there's a separate thing. You got the option bonus that he signed when he signed that big 6-year contract with the Cardinals, I believe, either last season or before of last season. Anyway, he's supposed to get about half of that this season. And then you also have his salary. Now, his salary is completely gone since he's suspended for the entire year. Won't get paid at all. Salary is done. So the Cardinals get to keep that. But he's supposed to get half of the $10 million that was option bonus. And now I think I was reading, and I might have read wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was saying that the Cardinals found a loophole now that they do not have to pay him about, I think maybe just $2.5 million now, if that, of the $10 million he was supposed to get. But anyways, main point is Will Hill suspended for 6 games, his 3rd offense. 2nd offense for Darrell Washington, suspended the entire year. And also, you talk about Josh Gordon, his 2nd offense, and suspended the entire year. What's up with that? I mean, come on now. And Josh Gordon being from Baylor, another Texas product. Will Hill is from like New Jersey, New York area. That's not right. Something against Texas players. I guess so. Also, the New York Giants released quarterback Josh Freeman on Friday, with Eli Manning back and healthy, ready to take off-season reps. There was no need, apparently, for Freeman as an insurance policy. But really? You're going to keep Curtis Painter? He was a better option than keeping Freeman? He was the better player? You know, I don't think so. But apparently, sources said that Josh Freeman struggled picking up the offense, which led him to being cut. and leads to the question, is Freeman's career basically over with now? He has failed to pick up both the Minnesota's offense last season in that miserable game that he played on Monday Night Football, and now the Giants' offense. He was only with them for 6 weeks, struggled to pick up the offense. So can he really play for anybody? He's struggled the past multiple years now. He was really good for the Buccaneers not that long ago, 2010, 2011 season. He was doing really good, threw for 4,000 yards, about 26 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. I mean, he was doing really good, led them to the playoffs. But it's all gone downhill for him. And I think it was after they lost, can't think of his name. It was before Schiano went over there. The other coach, was it Johnson? No, jeez, I can't think of his name. Anyways, you guys know who I'm talking about. Once he left, his career's just gone downhill. And he's already had that other issue with the health related issue, whatever happened with him and the Buccaneers. Excuse me. So, is Josh Freeman done? I mean, is he really done? Is he a starting quarterback in the NFL anymore? What's going to happen with him? Can't pick up the offenses, and it's not just one team, it's multiple teams. Your career might be done. And it sucks because Josh Freeman was pretty good. Moving on, Jack Elway, the son of Denver Broncos executive and Hall of Fame quarterback John Elway, has been arrested on charges of assault and disturbing the peace. Jack Elway was booked into jail early Saturday morning after an incident near a college campus in downtown Denver. Police spokesman said she could not provide any details about what led to the arrest, other than the alleged victim was a female. Elway was released on a $550 bond and was scheduled to appear in court Thursday. So Broncos having a little bit of issues, legal issues up front in front office management. No idea what's going on. You got drunk driving last year. That executive, or, something like that. And he was now, he was 7 months in jail or something like that sentence. And now John Elway's son is getting into trouble. Got a lot of legal issues. And speaking of another legal issue, is Cleveland Browns wide receiver, Pro Bowl wide receiver, I should say, Josh Gordon is facing a possible year-long NFL suspension, for another failed test that we talked about, another failed drug test. I can't speak. Now, Josh Gordon was ticketed for speeding last weekend, and his passenger was cited, of all things, marijuana possession. Gordon, do me a favor, bud. Stay away. Stay away. You're about to have Johnny Manziel throw to you. You have Miles Austin, Earl Bennett signed with you on your team. You got a little bit of depth at wide receiver. And you might be able to peel this year-long suspension. You might only miss just about 4 to 6 games, maybe even 8 at the most. And come back and maybe be that boost and maybe even lead the Browns to the playoffs. Just stay away from the stick, man. It's not that hard. I mean, the Cleveland fan base is leaning on you. Is leaning on you right now. They're hoping and praying that you can just hop off of it just for a little while longer, so that you can be and start something special in Cleveland. Gordon was pulled over for driving 74 miles per hour in a 60 mile per hour zone on May 25th. The passenger in Gordon's Mercedes was issued a citation for possession of marijuana in an amount under 200 grams. The marijuana was found in a blue bag with identification. The passenger said the marijuana was not Gordon's. And last season, Josh Gordon was suspended 2 games for failing drug tests and now facing a possible year-long NFL suspension. It's crazy. It's just stay away from it. Even if it truly wasn't yours. I mean, the passenger could have just took it, and said, hey, I'll bite the bullet. It was mine. We don't really know. It said it had identification, so I'm guessing it was to the passenger. But just stay away, Gordon. Just stay away. Come on, you can really start something special with Johnny Manziel. The Browns offense, the defense wasn't that bad last season. You got a defensive head coach. You really do something this season if you just stay away. Just stay away. Being a little selfish there. One of the most interesting news is that Ed Reed said that he's not planning to retire this year, saying, quote, "Yes, definitely preparing to play. I'm not at any rush at all. I learned a lot about the process last year, and I know my worth. I'm taking my time, getting myself all the way back to where I want to be. I'll come back down to it somewhere in season. I'll probably wind up somewhere or not." Ed Reed did sign a 3-year, $15 million contract with the Houston Texans as a free agent last year, but was eventually benched after 7 games with the Texans. Then later signed with the New York Jets, had hip surgery. We all know the rest. Reed went on and said, quote, "I'm not going to anybody's training camp. I sat and watched the league from a different perspective and learned a lot. I saw they had teams that needed safeties in the later part of the year. Right now, I'm just taking care of me. I'm getting myself back to where that's not a question on my part. I know you guys, the media, may question, but I'm really not worried about that. It's how I feel. I know I can still play. It's just a matter of the right fit. If not, you guys will probably never see me again," end quote. So, leads to the question, where do you see Ed Reed playing, if at all, this season? He says that he obviously is not going to any training camp. He's going to play, he'll sign before the season starts. And I don't know if that means literally just a few days or a week before week 1, or he's talking about in preseason that he'll sign and just not play. That's what a lot of teams do with their star players. I know the Chargers did that with LT. Never played a preseason game. Sat him out and, got ready for the regular season, keep him healthy and whatnot. Ed Reed can do the same. Sign with the team. Learn the playbook. Because he played terrible for the Texans. Let's not forget that. Learn the playbook. Focus on what he's got to do. Continue to stay healthy and get his reps in practice during the preseason, but sit out all the preseason games, then come ready week 1, bam. There isn't any teams that I looked up, try to find sources or whatever I could find on this, see any teams that are possibly interested or teams that would fit for him. Really couldn't find anything. This is coming off the top of my head, so don't think, take this with a grain of salt basically at this part. But what if, the Cowboys could be an option? They need help secondary, and bringing the presence of Ed Reed himself, to the Cowboys. One, your fan base is all upset right now. You lost Sean Lee. You didn't draft Johnny Manziel. People hate Romo. They don't know what's going to happen with Romo. Everything's in question for the Cowboys. Bring in Ed Reed, sign him to a contract, bring him in, not only for preseason to get, the hype up for the Cowboys and for the fan base and, a little optimistic for them, and see what he can do. Especially even though Ed Reed does play safety, if you team up Ed Reed and Morris Claiborne, just to teach him a little bit, even though they don't play the same position, but to give the knowledge of Ed Reed to Claiborne, because we know Claiborne hasn't, stepped up and produced the way he should be doing right now. Just the knowledge, whatever Ed Reed can give to Claiborne could be a lot. It might not seem like a lot right now, but it could be. And the effect of that, the swagger the Cowboys would have knowing that Ed Reed's in their defensive backfield could be enough to, ignore a lot of what everybody says about the Cowboys. That would be an awesome fit, I believe, for the Cowboys signing Ed Reed. Obviously don't really know their safety, spot too well right now, but, he could still be a solid contributor to that defense because right now they need all the help they can get. Sign Ed Reed, see what he can do there. Cowboys, who else? I guess the Colts could be one. We saw how bad their defense was. Possibly the Chiefs. They're thinking about letting go Brandon Flowers. I know Brandon Flowers plays cornerback, but Ed Reed on the opposite side of Eric Berry, that could be a tandem right there. And another step, again, a veteran presence. The knowledge Reed could give to Berry could be amazing. Another thing, what about the Cardinals? The Cardinals, I know they got, their cornerbacks at Patrick Peterson, Antonio Cromartie, having Ed Reed on the opposite side of, or I believe Ed Reed and Tyrann Mathieu played the same position, but maybe, they could, obviously they would split time either way, but maybe move Reed to strong safety. Who knows? But anyway, it's really, because right now Ed Reed, that he's not going to have, he's still got a little bit in the tank. I believe he does. Even though he's got the hip surgery and didn't play that well for the Texans, I believe he's still got a little bit more in the tank for him. But it's just the knowledge, that he can give to the younger players, especially like a Tyrann Mathieu, Eric Berry, Maurice Claiborne, just other guys at different positions in the defensive secondary. It's going to be a lot. So you'd always see him there. The Browns did lose TJ Ward. Put Ed Reed in there. I know he can't be the starter and the Pro Bowler that TJ Ward was, but could throw him in there. Patriots could be another team. I think Ed Reed was linked to the Patriots before he signed with the Texans, so that could be one. Really, there's a good amount of teams that you could look at for Ed Reed. It's just how much is left in him. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But you guys let me know what you guys think about Ed Reed, where he can possibly fit into a team. Do you see him even playing in 2014? Is his career done? So on and so forth. Let me know in the comments section. Also follow me on Twitter at @short_sports 24/7. Become a fan on Facebook, The Short Sports Show. Links right there in the description. Browns signed cornerback, former cornerback, oh my goodness. I messed this all up. Let's start over right here. The Cleveland Browns signed former Jets cornerback Aaron Berry to a 1-year deal. Sorry about all that. And here's the most interesting news. Other than the Ed Reed thing, let's talk about this. Ed Wardner of ESPN, whatever. We all know who that guy is. Reported some interesting news saying that the Dallas Cowboys are, quote, considering linebacker Brian Urlacher to fill Sean Lee's spot. Sean Lee tore his ACL in OTAs last week and will miss the season. And also former Saints middle linebacker Jonathan Vilma was another name mentioned. But Brian Urlacher hasn't played since 2012, and there's no indication if Urlacher even wants to come back. But wouldn't that be something? Let's say Urlacher and Ed Reed both signed with the Cowboys. They're old, but hey, you never know. Even if they brought in Jonathan Vilma, if I was the Cowboys right now, because obviously you haven't made a lot of smart moves so far. Sign Urlacher, sign Vilma, sign Reed. They're all old. You're going to get some criticism for that. You're going to get criticism in everything you do, but especially for the Cowboys. But get all three. Have Vilma and Urlacher push each other, even at their old age. If, let's say, Urlacher still feels like playing, push them. Keep the best one. If you could keep both, that'd be awesome. If you, most likely you won't, because you're going to need some depth at offensive lineman. So you're going to have to cut one of these old guys. Boom, do that. Bring a little hype to the Cowboys, I don't know. I feel like if I was a Cowboys fan, if you signed Urlacher, Vilma, and Ed Reed, that seemed good to me. That would seem cool to me. I'd like it. Because, obviously, your defense can't really get any worse, So, might as well add some pieces that, have knowledge, have been in the game for a long time, and might even surprise you. You never know. So, I would do it, but again, there's no indication if Urlacher even wants to come back to the NFL. I remember last season when he was thinking about playing, he wanted to play for the Bears. They didn't offer him a good enough contract. He does want money, but I don't know if he wants that anymore. He was with Fox. I'm sure they paid him pretty well. So, who knows? No team really offered him a major deal that he wanted, so that's why he sat out or / retired. I don't know, but be nice to see. Interesting. And about the last thing. Well, first we'll say this before we talk about this main thing I really want to talk about. It's free agent tight end Jermichael Finley has, we all heard, has been cleared to play, but won't sign with the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks were one of the favorites to sign Jermichael Finley after he was, once he had been cleared, but that has fell through. I think he even visited Seattle Friday. throughout the weekend, but Seahawks really aren't interested anymore in Jermichael Finley. The other teams that are believed to be interested are the Packers, which are Finley's former team, and the New York Giants. So we'll see how that goes. Main thing I wanted to talk about, though, was an interesting story. And at 38 years young, the question comes up a lot. And that question is, how many more years does Broncos quarterback and future Hall of Famer Peyton Manning have left? This is what he had to say after being asked. He said, quote, "Anytime you sign a 5-year contract, it's really 5 one-year deals in many ways. I think that needs to be your goal. The team made plans to where they want a quarterback for this long so they can fill spots here and there. That's what you try to do. You understand that when you get to this age, and John Elway understands," end quote. Manning is due to make $15 million this season and $19 million per year in 2015 and 2016, the last 3 years of his contract. The cap numbers are $19.5 million this year and $21.5 million in each of the last 2 years. By the time after 2016, the last year of Peyton Manning's contract with the Broncos, he will be 41 years old or young. And, so one question is, does he play through the entire last 3 years of his contract? And if he keeps performing well at 41 years old, let's say he doesn't, sign any more extensions with the Broncos. If he keeps performing well, and when I say that, I say, obviously keep making the playoffs, throwing for a good amount of yards, touchdowns. The interception to touchdown ratio is low. If he keeps performing well, do you see Peyton Manning wearing a different uniform come the 2017 season? If, obviously if he decides to play. And when do you think Peyton calls it quits? Do you think he finishes out all 3 years? I mean, he's got money, so it's not like, hey, just because I'm making $15 million this year, 19 the next 2 seasons, that he really needs it. I mean, it's gonna be nice to have $19 million the next 2 years. That's, whew. Just thinking about it, I just broke a sweat just thinking about it. So, do you think Peyton Manning goes all 3 years, performs, I'm not saying he's gonna make the Super Bowl every year or get close to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying, performs well as in a winning record. Touchdown to interception ratio is normal, his average, and he's taking them to the playoffs. But when do you see when he calls it quits? When do you think Manning is done? And do you think he makes it out all the way? And if you do think he does, but doesn't sign with the Broncos, let's say the guys retire, guys get traded, guys want to leave, does he just leave the Broncos as well? And at 41 years old, do you see him signing anywhere else? It's crazy. But I want to know what you guys think. It was awesome to read about this. It made me think a lot on Peyton Manning's status and how we could see him, and if we would see him in the 2017 season. I mean, it's a long, long ways away, and obviously there's a lot of different things could happen between that time. A lot of things. But it is, something that, just for funds, if you think about it, just for funds, But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I don't know. If Peyton Manning, I hope he doesn't make it till 2017, at least with the Broncos. I mean, God, I'm done dealing with him. Sometimes the Chargers have his number, we're able to minimize the amount of work that he does on us, but gosh, I'm tired of losing. I want the AFC West back to San Diego. That's what I want. And with him there, I don't know. But that's it for the NFL news. Now, for a lot of you viewers, you guys wanted to hear about the NBA Finals. It's here. It's here Thursday at 8 p.m. Central on ABC. It's the rematch. It is the Miami Heat versus the San Antonio Spurs. Game 1 NBA Finals. Again, Thursday, 8 p.m. Central on ABC. They did play twice this year, and they split the series. The first game was January 26th, and the Spurs were on the road in Miami, lost 113-101, and then played again in San Antonio this time, March 6, 2014, And that was the Spurs getting the victory 111-87. So obviously both home teams won. I didn't pay too close attention throughout the NBA season until the playoffs got. I'm not a huge fan of basketball, but especially when it comes to playoffs and the NBA finals, I get really into it. And I believe what Tim Duncan sat out one of the games. I think LeBron sat out one of the games. So can't really go off too much on those two games, but we all know that the home team won. Last season in the NBA finals, the Heat had home court advantage and Spurs couldn't close it. It's still, I remember watching it. My entire family, Spurs fans. I'm a Lakers fan. But I'm watching it. I'm rooting for the Spurs. I like LeBron James. I hate the Heat bandwagon fans. You know who you are. I just don't like you. No one likes you. The point is that the Spurs had this series won in Game 6. All they had to do was a few seconds left, and they couldn't get the job done. And it was almost like that again against the Thunder. The Spurs have struggled on the road in the playoffs multiple times now, especially against the Thunder. The game, 3, they got killed. And Game 4 is a little bit closer, but still Thunder it was a good amount of win. A good enough amount of win. That doesn't make any sense, but you guys know what I'm saying. It was a good win for the Thunder. And then, on the road, Game 6 for the San Antonio Spurs to play the Thunder, you had a 10-point lead, gave it up, went overtime, and then, got the win, and that's all that matters. You win by 1 point in the next, 4 games, doesn't matter. You're champs after that. Whether you win by 1 or 100 points, that's it. That's all that matters. But the thing is, when you give up leads, you struggle on the road, and now you got to play King James and the Miami Heat and their fans, and who knows who the referees are, you cannot perform like that anymore. Spurs know it. They've been in this situation. They've been here multiple times. This is their 6th NBA Finals. And for, I think, the big 3, this is, I think Duncan has been in all, now going to be in all 6, but I obviously, Parker, Ginobili, this is going to be their 5th NBA Finals. Popovich, his 6th. So they know what they're getting into. They wanted the Heat. They didn't want the sorry Pacers. They wanted the Heat. And they're going to get them. I'm not going to go prediction by, game by game, but I am going to say I would like to see the Spurs win. And I think they do. I think the Spurs get the job done. This time, 6 games. And for the Spurs, it is on home court advantage. And we got that new playoff, that home style. What would you say? Man, I can't think of the word. Anyways, you got first 2 games in San Antonio, Thursday and Sunday. And then you got the next 2 games, games 3 and 4 in Miami. And then 5 in San Antonio, 6 in, if necessary, in Miami. And then 7 if necessary, in San Antonio. And we'll see from there. This game, obviously, is not going to go 5 games. No one's going to sweep here. There's no sweep whatsoever. I would love to see the Spurs sweep Miami. I think it would be amazing. It would shut up all the little Miami bandwagoner fans. I would love to see that, but it won't happen. King James and company are not going to let a sweep happen. And also, 6 games, I can see it, but it really depends, game 3 and 4, how the Spurs play. I think they split 1 and 2. I think 3 and 4, they split it again. You're at a 2-2 series. And then, it goes down to Miami. San Antonio gets game 5 at home. And then we'll see game 6. But, this series is going 6 or 7 games because of the Spurs struggling on the road. That's the main reason. That's the main reason I think it goes 6 or 7. And for it to go 6, or for it to go, to win it in 6, you got to play at Miami. So we could see 7, but hopefully Spurs get the job done. We will obviously keep discussing and talking about it each week. we'll have, our next show is next Monday. So this, game 1 is on Thursday, and then game 2 is on Sunday. So after that, we'll obviously be able to recap both games and go from there. But I'm going for the Spurs. I hope the Spurs win. Pains me inside to say that, but I hope the Spurs win. But if not, King James gets another ring. Will it be 3 straight for Miami, or will the Spurs redeem themselves from the last season finals? You guys let me know in the comment section. And that is it for today's show. I will see you guys next Monday morning. Follow me on Twitter at @short_sports 24/7. Become a fan on Facebook, The Short Sports Show. And if you're watching on YouTube, iHeartRadio, or Spreaker.com, thank you so much for the continued amount of listeners, for liking and sharing, the amount of followers on Facebook and Twitter. It's amazing, guys. Thank you so much. This was our 60th episode, and I will see you guys next Monday. God first, God bless. I'm out.